So I grew up Unitarian Universalist in a small fellowship in Plymouth, New Hampshire. This is in the 70s and 80s, and I'll tell you what, we did not have a big, beautiful building. We did not have a building at all. We met in people's homes, mostly in their living rooms. Well, RE happened in the bedrooms upstairs. And then eventually we rented space at a variety of different places. For a while we were at the Easter Seal Center and then the Masonic Hall. For a while we even actually met at a gym. I kid you not. We repurposed the room where they held aerobics classes into our sanctuary. And the middle school kids met in the weight room. Yeah. We didn't have a minister either, at least not until I was in high school. Now, SCUF, the Star King UU Fellowship where I grew up, was a community made up of almost entirely of people that I would lovingly call crusty humanists. They pretty aggressively rejected anything that felt like traditional religion. There was no God language. We had talks and not homilies or sermons. We had Sunday programs rather than worship services. It was actually controversial when people first wanted to introduce singing to the Sunday program. But do you know what was even more controversial? The decision to pass the plate. Money, as it turned out, was the ultimate taboo. And yet, these were people who loved and lived with a generosity of spirit that, I'm not exaggerating, that saved me. My family of origin was turbulent and complicated. My fellowship family, though, loved and accepted me and my siblings unconditionally. When they asked themselves what they had to give to offer to these children, they asked themselves what they had to give, what they had to offer these children. They welcomed us into their lives. They taught us skills. They shared their passions. They took us hiking. They drove us all over New England on field trips. They told us stories and played games with us. They laughed and cried and shared the fullness of their humanity. Above all, they affirmed our goodness and our worth in ways that all people need in order to thrive. Ways that we weren't getting affirmed at home. So if you've ever wondered why I wound up becoming a UU minister, now you know. I wanted to help give other people the chance to be loved with that kind of generosity of spirit that I experienced as a child. The poet Alberto Rios writes, "One river gives its journey to the next. We give because someone gave to us. We give because nobody gave to us. We give because giving has changed us. We give because giving could have changed us. We've been better for it. We've been wounded by it. Giving has many faces. It is loud and quiet, big though small, diamond in wood nails. Its story is old, the plot worn, and the pages too, but we read this book anyway, over and over again. Giving is, first and every time, hand to hand. Mine to yours, yours to mine. You gave me blue and I gave you yellow. Together we are simple green. You gave me what you did not have, and I gave you what I had to give. And together we made something greater from the difference." The practice of asking ourselves over and over again, what do I have to give, lies at the heart of living a generous life. And it's a question grounded in love and care. To live a generous life means asking ourselves, what do I have to give to others? What do I have to offer to my community? What can I do to help tend the earth? And importantly, what should I give to myself? In the material realm, of course, some of us can give money. Others of us don't have money to spare, but we give our time. We share our expertise. We can volunteer or just offer to help someone who we can see is overwhelmed or facing a difficult situation. We can give some of our stuff, like in a toy swap, Santa's Workshop style. And there are all kinds of ways the local Buy Nothing groups are helping people look out for one another. Somebody needs diapers, somebody else has extras and drops them off. Someone has way too much squash and is actually able to find takers. But I'd like us to reflect too on what generosity looks like in the interpersonal, interpersonal, intellectual, and spiritual realms. How are we generous in our relationships? How are we generous within ourselves, cultivating a sense of abundance and peace? How are we generous with our thoughts, and how do we grow generous spirits? Relationally, I think generosity looks like giving one another the benefit of the doubt. When someone says or does something that rubs us the wrong way, instead of thinking they are doing that on purpose just to drive me crazy, we might choose to lead with curiosity. What is going on that led them to say that or act in those particular ways? Being generous in our relationship looks like taking responsibility for our own emotional well-being rather than expecting other people to cater to us. I think about this in terms of crafting worship, actually. Every time we ask you all what you find meaningful in our Sunday services, it immediately becomes clear that everyone has their own favorite moments. Most people have parts they don't love or even hate. But approaching worship with generosity means everyone accepts that not every element of every service is going to land with every person. And the parts that don't land for one person might be really important to someone else. When it comes to cultivating generosity within ourselves in the landscape of our own inner world, for me, a lot comes down to one word: enough. I am enough, I have enough, I care enough, I do enough. There's a voice inside me that my friend Dana calls my inner Puritan, who likes to insist always that I should be doing more, working harder, exercising more, giving more. And it's not a generous voice. That is not a generous voice. Does anyone else have an inner Puritan? It's not just me. Okay, good, right. So it's not a generous voice, because when we push ourselves beyond our limits, we edge our way into burnout, and then we're no good to anyone. It may be that generosity toward ourselves is the foundational practice that allows all other forms of generosity to flourish. Intellectual generosity resonates with one of the other values on our wall: pluralism. Well, I know plenty of people who are generous with their expertise. There's always a danger there of sliding into a sense of superiority. True intellectual generosity holds humility at the center. I'm less interested in sharing what I think I know than I am in learning what makes you tick, what you see that might not be as obvious to me. It's less about giving knowledge and more about making space, making room for other people's voices, stories, and opinions. Now, there's currently a lot of chatter out on the interwebs about mansplaining. This is when a man explains something in a condescending way to a person who actually has more expertise in that particular subject than he does. And the manosphere, in the past month or two, has been rigorously defending itself, saying that mansplaining is actually just a male attempt to connect. The argument is basically, this is how we connect. We connect by solving problems. So when we tell you what we think you should do, it's just a bid for connection. You should cut us more slack. Now, I'm definitely in favor of being very, very generous when it comes to slack. But I will say this. In my 25 plus years of offering pastoral care, I've had to learn over and over again that giving advice rarely, if ever, winds up to be helpful. Encouraging and supporting people in tapping into their own wisdom, helping them find the solutions that will work for them, that's another story. Each of us is the expert in our own life. And respecting that means treading very lightly when it comes to advice. Intellectual generosity looks like reflecting back what we see and hear without inserting judgment or our own opinions. In this way, we're able to accompany one another through challenging situations without taking away anyone's sense of agency or autonomy. Spiritual generosity for me comes down to two things: cultivating a sense of mutuality, and hanging on to hope. When I believe with Martin Luther King Jr. that we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny, then my actions flow freely in a way that serves the greater good rather than my own narrow interests. Hoarding food while allowing others to go hungry creates a moral injury in the hoarder, whether they realize it or not. We know this is not how it's supposed to work. As for hanging on to hope, we can choose to maintain a generous, positive assessment of human nature. We can choose to believe that the future can and must unfold in ways that are beautiful and good. We can choose to believe that the story is still being written, that there might still be a possibility for a happier ending. Being generous isn't always easy. I want to tell my inner Puritan, I have to work hard at this, give me some credit. But in a historical moment, when unfettered greed is destroying lives, our democracy, and the planet, choosing to remain generous may be the most important act of resistance we can offer. It's not easy, but it is simple. In every moment, in every decision, we ask ourselves, what do I want to give? What is love inviting me to offer up? What is in me wanting to be set free? These are questions to journey with, gently and with love. I want to thank you for being on this journey and holding these questions with me. I want to thank you for being such generous people. I know these are hard times, but I have a deep and profound faith that means I can give you this piece of reassurance with integrity and faith. All will be well. We will find our way through together. So be it, and so may it be.